afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to see so many of you here. And I'm also super honored to be here at Women in Tech, a community that really embody growth, curiosity, and innovation. It's three values that really define my journey and what I do. I am Pernilla Lyander, and I'm leading learning and development at Swedbank Academy. We are a group function and work across our home markets, that is Sweden, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. At Swedbank, we see learning more like a mindset. It's not just training and courses. It's what you do at work. It's what you do together with others in collaboration and experience sharing. With over 35 years in the financial industry, I have been 35 years over. That's quite impressive, huh? I have learned, I've done many different things in different companies, and I have learned that experience is not enough. You also need to learn every day and be open and curious about changes, to adapt to changes. Otherwise, they become a challenge. And who are you, Åsa?
Yes, my name is Åsa Linhein, and I work as a project manager in Swedbank Academy. And I actually started in the bank for many, many years ago. I started when I was studying at the university and worked for a summer. And I thought that it would only be for a summer, because I just came from some years before when I have been working in Greece. And all of you that has been to Greece, you know it's very nice weather, nice climate. It's always happy faces because it's holiday makers. So I thought that banking, maybe it's a little bit too boring. But I said, maybe I should just give it a try. So I started. And for now, I've been in the bank for over 2 decades, and I've done so many different things. And what I really have appreciated is that it's really a journey of developing and learning. So what I have done is that I have really been around, and I have tried so many different roles, so many different departments, and the curiosity and the learning is really something that I appreciate. So for that, I am really a living proof of how you can learn and develop in a large organization like Swedbank. Yes, and today we would like to give you some opportunities to get a short insight in development and learning. And we hope that you will give some inspiration today that you can bring with you back home to your organizations, and how you can look into work with learning and development and according to new opportunities. And we also hope that we can give you some new things that you can try out, and also get some time for reflections together here so we can continue our journey together with learning and development.
So, learnability has become the most important currency in stay ahead and be relevant. Your job will change, even if you don't change job. And that's the truth. And when we look at the latest job survey from Future of Job Survey, then we can see that 39% of the skills will change the upcoming 5 years, between 2025 and 30. A majority of the respondents in the survey of the companies that have responded also say that skill gaps are the biggest barrier for them in the business transformation. Today we will share what we have done to bridge a part of this gap. We will present one of the initiatives we are doing to help our employees to stay relevant. But first, a bit about Swedbank, so we put everything in a context. And this is our strategic direction, where we, in our purpose, say that we empower the many people and businesses to better create a better future. Our vision is a financially sound and sustainable society. And in our foundation, we want to be an attractive employer for employees with a culture based on inclusions and accountability. And we will come back to this accountability. When you look at these figures about our home markets, Sweden, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, then it becomes clear why we have the strategic direction we have. We have almost half of the population of the population in our home markets as customers at Swedbank. We have over 500,000 corporates as customer at Swedbank, 250,000 in Sweden, and that makes us to one of the biggest corporate banks in Sweden when it comes to number of corporates. We are 17,000 employees. When we sometimes, to get the oversight over our workforce, we divide it in 4 capability areas. And there is tech, one capability area. And then we look across the organization, across the countries, across the business areas. And there we can see that almost a quarter of the employees working at Swedbank belongs to the tech community. And it's growing. It's growing like 5 to 6% every year. And 38% of those who work in the tech community today are women. When we ask our employees and or those who want to start to work at us, and we ask them, why do you choose Swedbank? What's it special with Swedbank? They say, it's a great place to grow and develop, opportunity to create a sustainable impact, and a caring and inclusive environment. And that is what we call the we at Swedbank. If we dig down a bit in a place to grow and develop, then we need to go back a bit in the history, 4 or 5 years, where we implemented a new leadership framework at Swedbank. A leadership framework where we have clear expectations of all employees, everything from self-leaders to leaders in different levels. For self-leaders, we really expect them to drive their own development. And we also expect our leaders to support their employees' development. And we can see that clearly in the figures. We can see that our leaders' involvement in our employees' development is rated really high, 8.5 out of 10. We fill over time 50% of our open vacancies by internal candidates. So we have a strong pipeline with people who are ready for the next role. And when we ask our employees how they rate development at Swedbank, they rate it super high, 9 out of 10. And with that, I would like to state that we have a strong foundation. We have a strong foundation of a learning and a learning culture. But still, we wanted to support our employees to understand what are the most important competences for the future for you to stay relevant in your current role, but also to be able to go further to your next role. And then the idea of a core competency framework started to grow. And a framework that clarify important competences for the future and for continuous development. And how did we then start this out then? Because we had a lot of views in the organization, but we really wanted to be data-driven and really see the facts. So we started in the workforce planning process and did analysis of that. And quite fast, we could see pattern around in the organization. Even if we used different words for it, we could see that same competences was reoccurring across the organization and across the countries. So what we did then was to have, we had an idea and we did external analysis. And after that, we had a hypothesis that we tried out in the organization. We did a lot of interviews with specialists and leaders to understand what they saw. And that ended up with 6 core competencies with sub areas under. And what was our ambition with core competencies? We didn't want it to be something separate, something that HR is doing on the side. We wanted it to actually be one important tool for us to succeed in our transformation. It's all about our strategic direction and where we want to go. So to collaborate closely with business side and make this something that we do together was super important for us. It's also Swedbank is a fantastic bank. A lot of things is happening around in the organization, and with this platform, our ambition was also to be able to carry out those initiatives that were relevant for the core competencies. And we wanted to create a structured approach for continuous development. When we started off, we had design principles before starting to develop the idea, and one of them was to again not develop something separate. We wanted to connect it to the existing people processes. So our core competencies is a part of a performance development process, for example. We also wanted to offer an easy, accessible, different development opportunities, possible for each and every individual to carve out their own path. That was important for us because we are 17,000, we have different background and different knowledge, so that was important. And we didn't want to make this mandatory. We didn't want to push out things and say, you should do this. We wanted to use the pull and nudge principle instead, and having people want to develop, want to learn. So that was the principles that we started up with. Ja.
Yes. And now Pernilla has been talking about the background, why we are doing this in Swedbank, and how we think that this will go on for us. So what we would like you to do right now is to take some time to reflect. If you think about how your daily work is going, and if you zoom out for just some seconds and think about if you pause and reflect beyond your daily tasks, what competences do you think truly matters for the future? So just take some seconds, and you have got some notes here on the shares, so please just write down if you have anything, because we're going to come back to this later on today and talk about this together. So take some seconds and we'll be back soon. Yes, thank you all. You can keep this, and we will come back to it later. This is just a short first reflection. And from now, I would like to show you how we have done and how we have worked with the competences in the bank. I'm going to show you a video, and this is what we launched when we launched the core competences in Swedbank. We have this video launched.
In today's rapidly evolving world, embracing continuous learning and growth are essential to staying ahead. At Swedbank, we offer development opportunities not only to keep you relevant, but to open doors to exciting new possibilities. We count on you to be a self-leader, taking responsibility for your own development. Through research and interviews across our organisation, we've identified 6 core competencies along with self-leadership. We believe that developing yourself within these core competencies will help you in your daily work and prepare you for the future. Business-oriented. Being business-oriented involves understanding the broader context and Swedbank's business approach. Stay informed about changes and regulatory requirements in the finance and banking sector, incorporate Swedbank's sustainability values, and creatively drive innovation. Customer value maker. As a customer value maker, focus on creating and adding value for your customers, both internal and external. Understand their needs and work to enhance their experience. Data-driven and analytical. Being data-driven and analytical empowers you to make informed decisions based on facts and trends, identify patterns, predict outcomes, and optimize our work across all business areas. Approach topics with curiosity and critical thinking, using data for well-informed decisions. Digitally literate. Being digitally literate enables you to use modern tools and technologies to enhance productivity and teamwork. Stay updated with technological advancements and explore new technologies to improve work and collaboration. Collaborative. A collaborative approach fosters teamwork and cross-functional collaboration. Understand project management fundamentals and embrace our agile methods. Use English effectively as our business language when necessary. Adaptive. Being adaptive is essential for navigating constant changes. Embrace change and continuous development. Proactively manage change, share information openly, and continuously learn and develop. Use your self-leadership to craft your development plan related to these 6 core competencies, tailored to your current needs and future aspirations. In a world where rapid changes and evolving roles are the norm, the need to continuously grow and develop has never been more vital. When you grow, we all grow.
Yes, so that is how we have done it in Swedbank, how we have been looking into what core competences do we see is important both for today but also for the future. And what we have done to support this is that we have built a site for all the employees where you can find different information on all of the different competences. So what we just saw here in the video, you can also find it here on the site as a platform, a supportive platform where you can find different trainings, you can find the different tools and things that you can use in your daily work, but also to prepare you for the future. And the most important part here, as we have mentioned it or we have defined it in Swedbank, is the self-leadership. And that's not something new, because most of you probably work with this in your organizations. But self-leadership is really the engine here. You need to have the self-leadership as a driving force for you to make your own development plans, to make your own tools and make it work for you and for the organization. So we have really been into define it as a flexible approach, that to use this is up to you. It's what's your needs that's the most important part. When you do the self-assessment, when you use the tools, when you do the different journals, whatever you use, it's so important that you go to yourself and think about what needs do you see that you have. And that's the real thing for the self-leadership, to take the responsibility for yourself, to develop where you are today, but also for the future. And what we have done also is that we have included the core competences into existing processes that we have in the bank. We have a performance development process, and in that one we have included the core competences as one part that you are working with, both what you need for today, but also what you need further on for the future. And that's a dialogue where you have with your manager, so you constantly have that dialogue to know what do I need today, but also what do I need further on. And now we will share an example of how we have been working with one of the competences that's data-driven and analytical. And with all the competences, we have different spokespersons in the business, in the organization, that helps us to work with these competences in the organization. And here we will now see a video example of one spokesperson, that's Eva Sajdak. She's head of group data analytic and AI, and she will talk about why data driven and analytical is so important for us.
Being data-driven and analytical is really strategically important in Swedbank, and that is actually one of the core competences we have within the bank. And we would like to really encourage you to develop and utilize modern tools and capabilities of today, because that's so important to drive impact in today's digital world. And Swedbank is really committed to provide possibilities to grow and develop successfully to meet the opportunities of the future. So in Swedbank, we're offering inspiration and development possibilities, but it's really about you shaping your personal learning journey and enhance it with data and analytical skills.
What does being data-driven and analytical mean to you?
Yes, so for us it has been so important that when we work with the different competencies, we also include the business, because further on it's the business that is the driving force for us. Even if we, me and Pernilla now representing Swedbank Academy, we have been the one developing and working together with the rest of HR on these core competences. But it's really the business that's going to be the owner of this further on. So we really need to have that commitment and do the collaboration and do this together as a journey together in the bank with all of us. So this was one example of how we have done it in one of the competences, and we will work like this in all the competences to make it happen in the organization, in the business. And now I'm just going to show you a short glimpse of how it looks like on the site if we come to the data-driven and analytical as an example. This is the SharePoint site that we have been developing, and here you can find different things, different tools that you can use. We have different videos like this one we just saw with Eva Sajdak. And we also have a lot of different webinars that we have ongoing, both with external speakers but also internal speakers. And you have tools, you have tips, you have different links. You can go into other pages to have information that is needed. So this one is one example. And this is according to the data-driven and analytical. But they all look the same. It doesn't matter what kind of competence. We have the same structure to make it easy and have a supportive platform for all of our employees, so you easily can find the right information. Yes, and on this journey, we have actually, as Pernilla mentioned, just started the journey. It's only 3 months since we started this with the core competences in the bank. And we have seen what we think is a success, because we have seen that there is a lot of engagement from the organization, from all the employees. And here we have some examples. We have, for example, 35% of all employees have visited the site using the site. And that's quite a lot. If we think about that, we are 17,000 employees, and 35% of them have done something on the site. So we are really proud of that. We think that's a fantastic result, because this is not mandatory, as Pernilla mentioned. This is for your own. And also the webinars that I mentioned before, we have had over 2,500 participants in the webinars, and all the webinars has been fully booked. So we think that's also one thing that we see is really an easy way of how to get out with information, and we can see that we have a lot of engagement in that. And one part that we also work with is the Viva Engage, the community. And this is a really good way of how to share experience together in the organization. But we have seen that it has been a challenge here, because we haven't really had that commitment. And I guess that all of you here that are working with this can see the same challenges, because it is a challenge that you in your daily work have the time to use it in that way that we would like to use it. But we will continue and develop, and we hope that we will get more involvement in that. But these are the ones that we can see has been very good for us as an organization. Yes, so with that, Pernilla, what will we do further on to continue our journey and make this even more success?
Mm-hmm. And in this, communication is key. Super important to continue on the path we are on, to continue to continue to communicate in different channels, articles, webinars, Viva Engage, as Åsa mentioned. There we send a lot, but we get too little back. We don't get the communication, so we want to increase that. So that, I think, is the most important thing, because this is not a project and then it's delivered and then we go to next thing. This will stay for many years now and work with, so we really can support our employees to be to stay ahead. And the key to success then, if we can say that after only 3 months into the project. But I think you can guess what I will say now, because I think one of the most important things is to don't make this as a separate thing, not connected to the business. It is business. It is about our business transformation, and that is the most important thing, along with self-leadership, and that all our employees take their responsibility to stay ahead, employable, and to be able to take next step. So those are 2 most important things, I think.
Yes. So we have talked about how everything moves very fast. How can we adapt to that? What is the tools that we have? We have done it in one way in Swedbank with the core competences. One way of how can we be prepared for things that coming. We don't know what's coming, but we know that there's going to be changes, it's coming new things. So what can we do and how can we do it? So what we would like you to do now is to continue the reflection that we started just some minutes before. But now we would like you to reflect together. So if we were thinking about the competences as a survival kit, if we will have a survival kit, what if you were given an empty backpack that you can hold behaviors that are essential for lifelong learning? What behaviors would you pack? So what is important for you to pack, to have in your life going on? So please take some minutes, discuss with your neighbor or how you sit 3 on 3, and then we will come back in some minutes. But we will give you some minutes so you have the time to discuss together. And you can also include what you reflected on the first little reflection that you did on Zoom Out to see. Because this is important, and this is something that you can bring with you from us here today to have time to reflect, because it's not so often that you have that time. So please take the time to reflect together and discuss. Yes, thank you very much. So nice to hear all of you discussing, and I guess that you have so much more to discuss. So we will leave it, and you will have that in the bar later on. Okay? But hopefully you got some thoughts that you can bring with you and bring back home, and you can continue to reflect, because we think that this is one of the most important things, that you take your time to reflect and also write it down so you can do something with it. So before I let you in with questions, because we will also, of course, open up for some questions, I would like to give my way of my reflections and what I would like to pack in my backpack. So for me, the most important part here is 3 things. And that's stay curious, that's to lead yourself, and that's also to reflect regularly. And that's exactly what we just did. So please bring this with you with all your other thoughts that you just discussed, and then you have a really good survival kit for your backpack. Thank you very much, and we will open up for questions.
Ska vi ta den där nästa bild? Ja, perfekt. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have a question. Does your tool give a possibility to your employees to give and provide feedback from the team, from managers? So how do they know if they're doing well in these competences already?
We work a lot with feedback and feedback culture at Swedbank, and it's of course a part of our performance development process, but we also encourage all employees to ask for feedback and of course give feedback. That is a super important tool, so thank you for asking.
How has it been received so far?
Yeah, I'm just going to repeat the question because I just realized that we forgot it here. The question was how it has been received so far. Yeah, and our view of that is that it has been really good because we see the interest, we see that people are really interested in knowing more about the competences, and also that they have discussions with their managers in their performance development plans, like this is one competence that I really want to work with during this year because for next year I want to be more developed on that area. So we have seen in the development plans that we already have it ongoing and that we have different competences comparing what you need. Thank you.
A lot of the time it's about time.
Yeah.
And this looks really great. How do the managers work with their teams to make sure that they have the time to actually do this during, their working time? Are there any practical ways that they found, like scheduling or?
And the question now was, because I repeat the question so everybody can hear. The question was about how do we handle time? And that is a really tricky question. Maybe not for all roles at Swedbank. Of course, everybody have lack of time, but a lot of roles have more flexibility than others. So it's more the client meeting, the client-facing employees that we have a challenge, and we have. What we have done and what we can do is to make it as flexible as possible. Whenever you can, whenever you have time, it's available. Also, many managers and team is working on this during team meetings and other occasions to discuss what are the important competences for their team and how to develop that. But it is tricky with time, I agree. Yeah.
Is there a way to track one's progress? So when they're learning, they're doing something to develop it, how do they track progress if they have become better?
Yeah. Do you want?
Yeah, the question is how to track the progress. Yep, that's correct. Yeah. So what we have is what we just showed, that we have it in the plans, that we have different, both compared to what you think are your own individual plans, and also for the team, because you have plans for the team, how you can work with questions and develop things. And then you can follow up. If there is a specific area for a team that you really need to develop in, then you can follow that up for the team, but then you do it also individually. I don't know if that was the correct answer.
I could add on that a bit, because as we talked about before, we have embedded it in the performance development process. And that process starts with a performance development meeting with the full unit. And there you discuss what are the most important core competences for us as a team. And then you go home and carve out in your individual plan and put goals on that. And then that is followed up quarterly by your manager. But we don't have like big data system to follow the progress, because that would be too consuming of resources actually. So that we have not done.
Could you share 2 challenges during this journey and how you overcame them?
2 challenges and how we overcame them. Oh gosh, we have got many, many challenges. I think what has been the most challenging part, I think that has been to, decide on the levels and how much and how we should kind of build up the site. Also, we are not there yet. We have not worked. We have launched all the competences, but we have not deep dived in all of them. And I can imagine that it can be a challenge to find the right spokespersons around in the organization, because the competence or the sub area is so broad. So that can be a challenge also. But it has been a fun work, but still a lot of challenges, and it's an extremely hard work behind this. So that is itself a challenge.
I can also add, because I think one of the challenges that we can see is that since it's not mandatory, it's not like this is something you can use, this is a tool, this is something like a platform you can use, but it's not mandatory, so we can't really know exactly how this progress will go, and that's something that we will follow up to see. Is this a good way of how we have launched it, that it's not mandatory? Should it be something mandatory so we can see a progress for the whole organization? But that's something that we need to look into further on when we have done it for a while.
I think
Yeah, maybe you answered the question already a little bit, but I was wondering if this is something that also the leadership is involved with it. Like they also have to do this. Now you said it's mandatory, but yeah.
Super good question. And the question was about how is the leadership involved in this? And we have implemented leadership framework that clearly state our expectations on our leaders. And one of those expectations is to support their employees to develop and stay future-proof and develop in the roles. So in that sense, we have quite high expectations of our managers. And was that an answer to your question, or was it another angle you had on it?
Maybe both, because I think sometimes it's like from the bottom up when
Yeah.
it comes to self-leadership and improving yourself. And I mean, sometimes you want to have these role models that actually do something or inspire others to actually do the courses or learn a new skill or try something new. Yeah. So it's just
Now I understand what you meant, and you said, okay, how do you do it? Push down or bottom up, kind of. And we truly believe in the bottom up, actually. And we launched it at the same time to everybody, both managers and employees. And then, of course, we expect managers to talk about this and work with this in their teams. But this is self-leadership in core, absolutely. So if that was the question, that is the strategy. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
you touched on it in the beginning around how you came up with those competencies to begin with. But can you talk a little bit about the process of collecting all the data and the interviews and surveys and what that actually looked like?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, but and the question was, how did you actually find the competences that you worked with? And it is a lot of work, but luckily that work is already ongoing, because we connected to the workforce planning process that is ongoing on yearly basis at Swedbank. So we analyzed that data. So the data was already collected, and we did the analysis with these eyes on. And then we looked outside of Swedbank to see best practice, to see how do others do, what are the emerging competences outside of Swedbank, and from that we got the hypothesis that we tried out in the organization.
Yes, so thank you all for your engagement. We are so happy for you come here today, listen to us, and all of your good reflections and thoughts and questions. It's really been an honor to be here. So thank you very much, and have a really nice day the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.